And the way that I felt, the ambition that it gave me, the drive that it gave me, and I think about myself now, if it wasn't music, if I didn't have arts, where would I be? Who would I be? I know I wouldn't be confident. I'd probably still be living at home with my mom and dad. I probably would be doubting myself. I would be a mess. I'd probably be a follower. I would probably have no, like I said, no identity. I would be shy and I would be an introvert. But music gave me hope. It gave me a way of escape. Growing up in Detroit, it was as bad as it is now, if not worse. I had a brother, I say had, because he was brutally murdered, shot, killed, stabbed, thrown in the lake, left for dead. Knowing that my city was corrupted and his friends did it, and that it was, but I knew that it was time for me to go. I needed to go. And so I moved to Chicago, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. This is a very fast city. But I moved here with a dream, and the dream was to do music. Went to Columbia College at 18, thought I was doing my thing. I was so excited. And then the counselor tells me, Deborah, great first year, but you're not gonna be able to make that second year because you don't have any more money. I was so sad, I was so upset. I didn't want to go back to my city. And I confided in a friend, a very close friend of mine who was like a brother, and he raped me. In that moment right there, I lost all hope. Now I gotta go home broke and broken. How can I do that? How can I face my parents and say, thank you for allowing me to leave and go to Chicago, but Mom, Dad, this is what happened to me. He touched me. He hurt me. When I came back home, I was so depressed. No color, there was no light, there was no laughter. People were laughing, nothing was funny. Music was playing, I couldn't hear it. I could care less about music. I lost all hope. My sister started a girl group. She asked me, she begged me, Dad, be in a girl group, be in a girl group. And I'm like, no, I'm kind of done with music. I'm like 19, 20 years old, done. I finally said, yes, I'll do it. I was in a group called Presence. We were signed to Verity Records. We signed with Vicki Winans. I performed in Canada, did a tour in LA, opened up for Mary Mary, been on Bobby Jones, some with Kirk Franklin, Karen Cartier, Kim Burrell. I did so much and I felt so alive. But it was music that gave me back that strength. If my mother told me, just stop all that singing, get off the piano, put that instrument down, where would I be? Who would I be if I stopped? Once the group was over, I started to work at an advertising agency, but I was still working the studio. I started recording other artists, because my passion, honestly, is music. I make music. I play the flute, I play the piano. During the flute, I've been able to go to England. I've played in Carnegie Hall in New York. This is what music did for me. It gave me a way of escape, man. It took me out the hood, and I'm not ever going back, ever. So I started working at a job, and as I'm sitting there, a song made me realize that I was missing something, and I listened to Jasmine Sullivan, Dream Big. And the song said, you like that song too, honey? It says, I gotta dream big, but when it happens, it's gonna happen real quick. I gotta move fast, and when I move, I ain't looking back. So here I am in Detroit, and I'm like, I'm 24 years old, I've done a lot in my life. I'm feeling empty. So I packed up my bags and I moved to Chicago, and I said, I'm gonna try to go to school again. So I moved to Elgin, went to school in Schaumburg, back to Elgin, went to school in Schaumburg, finally got a job at Schaumburg, went to school in Elgin, got the job, got off the job, stood at the bus stop, and waited, and waited, and waited. There was no buses. I didn't know that. And so I found myself homeless. And so I go back into the school, and I'm like, Carlos, he's in the studio with all his friends, and I'm like, hey, what you guys doing? They said, nothing, we're about to do some music, and then we're gonna go home. I said, oh, you stay in the dorms? Yeah, I said, cool. You know, I'll come through. I stayed there for 3 months. Do you hear me? I was cooking and cleaning and doing everything to stay in the circle. You know, you need me. But I really needed them, and they helped me. We were homeless together. We ate scraps together, but we made it. Same thing happened. Hey, Deborah, you're doing great, but you have no more money to finish school. The dean realized that I was doing so much good work in the position that I was in. He gave me my own apartment for 3 months. Deb, you can stay here, go to school, but for only 3 months. After that, you gotta fix something else. That's fine. Well, I'm sitting in the studio one day, and I get an email from Traxter, Twister's producer, right? So I'm thinking to myself, I don't even know who this cat is. I listened to Twister, but I really didn't know who the producer was. That's fine. I go read the email. He tells me to come to the studio. He wants to work with me. Okay, cool. I get to the studio. I walk in. That man is looking at me like I'm crazy. Y'all, I tell you, I'm like, hi, I'm Deborah. You sent me an email, and you asked me to come to you and work with music, and I have a lot of songs, and I'm just excited to be here. This man is looking at me like, who are you? So he says, I am so sorry. I must have sent you the wrong email. I said, excuse me? No, here it is. You sent it? And he said, no, I understand that, but I was looking for Olivia. You guys kind of favor, but I'm so sorry. He said, but I don't want to waste your time. Do you sing? Yes, sir, I do. I stood there and I sang. That man sat down. Do you play any instruments? Yes, sir, I do. Pulled out that piano, I sang and I played. That man crossed his legs. He said, well, do you write music? Yeah, I write a song on the spot. It's nothing. And we sat there in that studio and we have been working ever since. I finally got signed. I was writing. I have songs on iTunes. There's an artist out. Her name is Tia London. She's here from Chicago. And I have songs on her album. But it was ambition that drove me. It was ambition that made me who I am. You may not be able, well, you will. You can Google me now. Google me, baby. But I'm not on the billboards yet. I'm not in the movies yet. But I kept going, acting. Me and Carlos were playing in a band. I see these actors on stage, I say, I think I want to try this. Since then, I've done TV, I've done movies, One Name Only, that was with the Black Ensemble Theater in Chicago. I just finished The Nativity with Congo Square Theater. Ambition. But if it wasn't for music, where would I be? So, someone has a dream. If someone has a desire to be someone, do not discourage them. And if it's you, if you have a desire to be a designer or an architect or a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse or a musician or a dancer or a poet, whatever it is, do not be afraid. Fear is the one thing that destroys us every time. It's always waiting for us through someone's words. Oh, you about to do that? You know, last person did that, they did not. Through our actions, we do it and we don't get the response that we want, so we give up. We doubt ourselves, but we have to stop. And I'm going to tell you the 5 ways to stop, and then I'm going to get out of your way. There are 5 points to eliminate fear. First point, define. Figure out what it is that you're afraid of. What will happen if you do nothing about it? What is it costing you spiritually? What is it costing you emotionally, financially? Why must you overcome this fear? Define that first. Secondly, imagine yourself living without fear. How would it feel if I actually did this? God, I would be so proud of myself. I would make my parents proud. My friends would love me. I would be an icon. Then, get real with yourself. Have I experienced this before? How did this fear originate? When did this fear begin? And how long has this fear been inside of me? What aspects of this fear do I control? Because fear is just a little, we weren't born with it. Our parents had to stop us from doing things because we were so fearless and crazy, touching fire and just going crazy. We weren't born with it. Then after that, transform. Does this fear make any sense? How is this fear absolutely crazy? What's so funny about this thing? Once you transform and start to laugh about it, like, oh my God, I've been holding myself back, execute. Let your words become actions, because actions speak louder than words. So stop talking and do it. I give you hope today. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it no matter what. I don't stand at you a victim. I stand in front of you victorious.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a brief intermission, 10 minutes for you guys to get whatever you need to get. Can I get some lights? There we go. And there was light. You guys get, you can go out to the contestants there. Rob's Delight Catering is actually there doing their thing. Shouts out to Rob's Delight Catering.